Hello, and welcome to our fifth session. My name is Nicole Wells, and I'm so grateful that you've chosen to tune in today as we discuss electronics. How much is really too much? You know, there really is no debating that the use of electronic devices is extremely widespread, now more than ever. Much of our work life, schoolwork, social life, and recreation is now conducted via computer. And the time that we devote to the use of computers or anything else really comes at the cost of other activities, including things like going outdoors to play or face-to-face conversation. A recent study showed that 59% of parents feel their kids are addicted. They use the word addicted to their mobile devices. So I think it's very natural for parents to start to wonder how much time on electronics is really too much. So today, what I hope to accomplish is to define and really talk about what it means to have internet addiction and what that long-term consequences of extended technology use could be. I also want to challenge each of you in your way of thinking about screen time, specifically now that we're in the midst of a global pandemic, and we'll really discuss ways to create healthy boundaries and to remain safe online. And as usual, we'll close with some local resources. So let's start by addressing the fact that spending a lot of time on the internet seems to have become the new normal behavior, right? Especially for our adolescents. Much of their social activity is simply just moved online naturally. Like any technology, the computer has really changed the way that everyone lives, the way that we learn, and the way that we communicate. We have social media apps, we have other apps for education or for streaming music and videos, and we even do our schoolwork online now. So screen time is really an inescapable reality of modern childhood, with kids of every age spending hours upon hours in front of iPads, smartphones, and televisions. I think the question here is really, is that a bad thing, right? Well, I don't think so. You know, I just caution that we have a ton of educational apps and TV shows that are great ways to sharpen developing brains and to hone communication skills. Not to mention, they give us a break as parents to allow us to do other things. I think my only caution here is that there's a number of studies that exist that connect delayed cognitive development in kids with extended exposure to electronic media. For example, the Department of Health and Human Services estimated that American children spend over 7 hours a day in front of electronic media. Yikes, right? 7 hours a day our kids are spending on electronic devices. That's a little bit alarming. According to another survey done in 2019 conducted by Common Sense Media, children age 8 to 12 now spend 5 hours a day on digital devices. Teens were clocking more than 7 hours, and this didn't even include schoolwork. So teen screen time is slowly increasing, and most teens take their phones to bed with them, which is super concerning because let's face it, everyone just needs a break from anything and everything. So, you know, staying connected to your phones all the time, especially when you need rest, is a little bit alarming. Also, 69% of parents say that they check their devices at least hourly, and 78% of teens said the same thing. If you ask me, I think that that's a lot higher than that. I think that that's a pretty low statistic. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I see teens or even adults, they're glued to their phones, their work phones, their personal phones, their emails. We just live in a very digital world. So, you know, these statistics kind of led me to wonder, like, what are the long-term effects of internet saturation? You know, being, you know, exposed to the internet 24/7 and kind of immersed in it. And can someone really become addicted to the internet? I mean, that's an interesting term. So this idea of being addicted to the internet is more than just a modern idea. It really hasn't been a proven fact, but Internet addiction is really the belief that people can become so dependent on using their mobile devices or other electronic devices that they lose control of their own behavior and that they suffer negative consequences because of it. So some people really believe that this is possible because they think that they're dependent on their devices and that they're connected about individuals, and they kind of lack the participation in other activities that aren't electronic. But believe it or not, this hasn't really been scientifically proven yet, but what we do know is that when very small children get hooked on tablets and smartphones, they can unintentionally cause permanent damage to their developing brains because too much screen time too soon can really impact the ability to focus or to concentrate, to pay attention, to sense other people's attitudes and feelings, and to be able to communicate with them. It kind of inhibits the way that young kiddos, form vocabulary and learn language and problem solving skills. Specifically, children between the age of birth to age 3, they're just neurologically blossoming at that phase, and they're particularly sensitive to the environment around them. So when young children spend too much time in front of a screen and not enough time getting experiences from the real world, their development can be stunted. So if I'm being really honest here, there are just certain things like a mom reading to a child that can't be equally replaced by electronics. A smartphone told story that spoon feeds images and words, or, has graphics and pictures to a young reader, doesn't really take the place of processing a mother's voice in their words, to visualize and complete pictures in your mind, to kind of that mental effort to follow a storyline. So kids who follow stories on their smartphones can get a little bit lazy, and this device does the thinking for them. And as a result, their own cognitive muscles can get a little bit weak. So the next time that your child reaches for the electronics, just ask yourself, is it age appropriate, and are they experiencing the right materials in the right way? So now I'd like to challenge you. I mentioned that not all screen time is bad as long as it's age appropriate and monitored. But what if we rethink what screen time is, especially during this pandemic? I mean, it's caused people around the world to go into lockdown. It's caused students to be cut off from their schools. And it's really no surprise that we've all kind of relied heavily on the internet to help us stay connected. So it's important to recognize here that the internet has been a critical tool for our children's access to learning, to play, to entertainment, to social interactions. In short, they might have a lot to gain from spending more time online right now. But if you're a parent who worried about the amount of time that your kids spent on social media or online games even before the pandemic, I'm sure that this newfound reliance on screen time may have caused you some additional worry and stress, because now it's required to kind of help us maintain a sense of normalcy. So what can be done, right? How do we find balance and not dependence on electronics? Here, we'll just consider shifting our perspectives by considering these things. So we'll start with staying in touch with friends. We all know that this is really important. During extraordinary times with a high degree of uncertainty and irregularity, it's vital for our children to play and to communicate with their friends. Video games, social media, those things can offer meaningful experiences during a pandemic. Next, we have active engagement and parental oversight. This is a reasonable concern because some content of video games or online materials are alarming, but only in the absence of active parenting strategies. And so don't be afraid to talk to your children about their online experiences. Make sure that they don't play games intended for older audiences, and observe their general mood or their happiness when they're playing. Playing video games together with children is a really good way to ensure that they stay safe, but it can also be a lot of fun. Next, we have physical activity in front of screens. So keep in mind that during this pandemic, many children will not get the amount of physical activity that they're used to. It's just not possible. We're all locked down, things are closed, we're not getting out and about like we used to. So if learning or socializing and play is for now just confined to the screen, we need new ways to help kids remain active. with restricted outdoor movement, many health organizations are really recommending active video games or online exercise classes as a way to stay healthy at home. So this is a really good solution because it provides both physical activity and entertainment. And finding a healthy balance between screen time and real life time is really the key here when we're talking about rethinking screen time. So now let's chat about how to keep our kids safe online. Parents really do play an important role in teaching online safety for helping their children manage ever-changing world of online, right? I gathered these health and safety tips from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and so why not utilize them and their expertise for this? And first, they suggest that you make your own family media use plan. So this might seem a little odd, a little bit foreign to some people, but media should work for you and within your family values and your parenting style. And when used thoughtfully and appropriately, media can enhance our daily lives. But when it's used inappropriately or without thought, media can displace many important activities such as face-to-face interaction, family time, outdoor play, exercise, unplugged downtime, and sleep. So treat media as you would any other environment in your child's life. The same parenting guidelines apply in both real world and virtual environments. Just stay focused on setting limits because kids need and they expect them. Know that your child's friends, both online and off, just be aware of who they're contacting. Know what platforms or what software and apps that they're using and what sites they've been using on the web. And what they're doing online. So again, setting limits and monitoring them. When we set limits and encourage playtime, media use, like all other activities, should have reasonable limits. And unstructured and offline play can stimulate creativity. So make unplugged playtime a daily priority, especially for very young children. Screen time shouldn't always be done alone. So consider co-viewing or co-playing or co-engaging with your children when they're using the screens. This will help encourage social interactions, bonding, learning. To play a video game with your kids, it's just really a good way to demonstrate good sportsmanship and gaming etiquette. Next, we have being a good role model. Teach your kids kindness and good manners online because children are great mimics. Limit your own social media use. And in fact, you'll be more available for and connected with your children when you're interacting or when you're hugging them or playing with them rather than simply staring at a screen together. Also, know the value of face-to-face communication. Very young children learn best through two-way communication. So engaging in back and forth talk time is critical for language development. Conversations can be face-to-face if necessary, by video chat if you're a traveling parent or if you have grandparents that live out of town. Research has really shown that it's that back and forth conversation that improves language skills, so much more than that passive listening or that one-way interaction that the kids might have with the screen. And then we have limit digital media for your youngest family members. So avoid digital media for toddlers younger than 18 to 24 months other than just like video chatting with family members that might be out of town. So for children 18 to 24 months, watch for digital media with them because they learn from watching and talking with you. So if you limit screen use for preschool children ages 2 to 5 and just 1 hour a day of high quality programming, again, the key here is co-viewing. That's always best when possible for young children because they learn best when they're retaught in the real world and what they've learned through a screen. So just being aware there that your interaction a screen time will never trump your personal interactions with your kids. So if we go here to create tech-free zones, I think it's really important here to keep family meal times and other family and social gatherings, children's bedtimes, those things need to be screen-free. Turn off the televisions that you aren't watching because background TV can get in the way of a lot of face-to-face time with kids. Recharge devices overnight, but more importantly, outside the child's bedroom, and just to help avoid any temptation to use them when they should be sleeping. Don't use technology as an emotional pacifier. Parents should teach self-regulation. Media can be very effective in keeping kids calm and quiet, but it should not be the only way that they learn how to calm down. Children need to be taught how to identify and to handle strong emotions. So come up with some activities to manage boredom or calm down through breathing. Talk about ways to solve problems, or find other strategies for channeling emotions. Don't just put them in front of a screen to keep them calm. And then when using apps for kids, it's just really important that you do your homework and you learn about the apps that your children are using. Research has shown that more than 80,000 apps are labeled as educational, but there's really little research that demonstrates their actual quality to enhancing educational experience. So be aware what your kids are using out there. So educate your children. It's okay for your teen to be online. Online relationships are just a part of a typical adolescent development. Social media can support teens as they explore and discover more about themselves and their place in the grown-up world. But just be sure that your teen is behaving appropriately both in the real world and online. Many teens tend to need reminded that the platform has privacy settings, and that they can make things private. Things like images or thoughts, behaviors that teens are sharing online will instantly become part of their digital footprint indefinitely. So doing some education around what that looks like and how to use privacy settings appropriately to keep their identity safe is really important. Also warn children about the importance of privacy and the dangers of predators. Teens need to know that once content is shared with others, they will not be able to delete or remove it completely. It just kind of includes this type of thing includes texting, inappropriate pictures, and just reminding that a gentle reminder here that kids will be kids and that kids will make mistakes when using media. So we'll have to try to handle those errors with empathy and turn a mistake into a teachable moment. But with some indiscretions, such as bullying or posting self-harm images, maybe red flags or hints that there is trouble ahead. So parents should observe carefully their children's behaviors and, if need be, enlist supportive professionals to help, including your family doctor or the school or any mental health professionals that might be in your community. So as we wrap up today's discussion, just be aware that media and digital devices are an integral part of our world today. There's no denying that we need them, we rely on them. So the benefits of these devices, when used moderately and appropriately, can be great. But research shows us that face-to-face time with family, with friends, teachers, those things play a pivotal role and are even more important in promoting children's learning and healthy development. So keep up the face-to-face interactions and don't let it get lost behind a stream of media and tech devices. And just as we usually do, we wrap up with some resources that are available within the community. Here, I have two media um, platforms that are available for parents, tips on keeping children safe online, creating healthy boundaries. And then we have some local resources as usual. Contact community schools. They are the hub of resources within the community for all families that live close to the school. United Way of Erie County has a 211. You can text it, you can call it, you can surf their website. It's a great place to start if you don't know what you need. You can simply share your story with the person on the other line and they connect you with various resources that exist right here in Erie County. The Erie County Department of Human Services has launched the eriesprout.com website. Again, has resources for children, for adults, for mental health services, drug and alcohol, homeless shelters, food pantries, whatever resources exist in Erie County can be found there. Crisis Services at UPMC Safe Harbor is a great resource for anyone who is experiencing an active crisis. They can be reached by 814-456-2014. Lastly, my name is Nicole, and I'm here from the Achievement Center. We have been serving children, adolescents, and their families for years now, and we are always willing and available to support in any way that we can. So don't be afraid to reach out to those resources if you or your loved one is in need. Lastly, as you think about it, yes, kids love technology, but they also love things like Legos, scented markers, handstands, books, and getting muddy. It's all about finding the right balance between technology and real life experiences. Thank you again for joining us. I hope everyone is staying safe and preparing to enjoy their summer.